Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on CBT News. We've got a special guest with us back again on CBT News, Miss Lauren Fix, who's the founder of Car Coach Reports. You've seen her out there on the internet doing such great work for consumers and dealers alike. And we love having her on because she tells it like it is. She does her research, she brings it to us, and our viewers absolutely eat it up. So Lauren, let's talk about some of the hot topics out there today, such as GM laying off some of their are having some significant job cuts or laying off engineers among being some of the ones that are affected by this. What say you about some of these job cuts that we see coming from GM and other manufacturers?
Right. Well, starting with GM, I have a friend who is an insider who is doing me a favor and doing us a favor, letting us know what's really going on. Over 1,000 workers were being laid off. Now, we've all heard that story. It was in automotive news. It was all over the place.
Sure.
However, where are these people coming from? Now, you would think, oh, it's combustion engines, but it's not. It's from the Ultium battery lineup. And these are engineers that design battery systems. So why would you let them go unless the sales aren't there, which we all know that, because if you own a dealership, you're obviously seeing vehicles sitting on a lot that you were forced to purchase.
Sure.
And consumers like them, but they're making other choices. They're looking at hybrids. And although General Motors is not considering hybrids, at least at this moment, they say they want to coexist with gas and with electric. When you're letting go 1,000 people and most of those workers are from that Ultium battery plant, that's going to make a statement right there that we need to keep an eye on. Maybe they'll switch to hybrids, which would be good for the dealers. But other brands are also letting people go.
Yeah.
Ford's letting people go. And you're seeing this huge layoff. We just heard over the weekend that a Volkswagen plant in Germany, which is their ID3 plant, which is, we don't get the ID3 here, we get the ID4. They're not going to run. They're going to shut the whole plant down.
Wow.
That's a problem. That means electric vehicles aren't selling in Germany, and they're laying off people in their own country. So in the case of Germany, it's actually hurting the country as well as the employees, because 60% of their employees have something to do with the auto industry.
Yeah.
And if they went all electric, you'd have a big chunk of your population unemployed. And we have that same situation here in the U.S. We want jobs to remain here. And now we've got the CEO of Stellantis coming to the U.S. saying, we're not going to sell off any brands. We're going to start laying off people. But we all know what that really means. They got hurt really badly by the UAW, and they're going to start moving plants to Mexico. And although the UAW may threaten that we're going to come after you, we're going to lay off, we're going to go on strike, that they have no recourse on that because they already have an agreement. So by the time that happens, they'll have already moved a plant and we have already lost jobs, and they'll send them to Mexico. Again, we have to be really careful what we wish for. We want our people to get paid fairly, but there's a point where it's hurting a brand. They can't produce product. We already know that's the case based on sales, which were off for the month of August. We're not going to see this turnaround unless things change when it comes to government policy.
Yeah. What about, speaking of government policy, what about if those jobs do move to Mexico and then a new administration comes in, or even, well, I guess it would be a new administration either way with Biden not running again, but and they throw these huge tariffs on any kind of imports coming into the U.S. Would Mexico be affected by that and the cars being built there?
Well, it would. Also, Canada has already placed a tariff. 100% tariff. Justin Trudeau, who's their prime minister of Canada, has already placed that tariff on. Now, a lot of obviously the Canadian auto workers realize this is a problem because they get a lot of their components and parts from China.
Yeah.
And unless you're going to start producing them in North America, which we're not at this point, and that would be a massive shift in production, which would be great for jobs across North America. But when it comes to Mexico, we've already got Chinese manufacturers such as BYD. A new one just came up today. They're called ROX, R-O-X. I haven't done any research into it yet, but they're popping up like crazy because there's hundreds of car manufacturers in China. If they start producing in Mexico, lower labor rates, lower cost. They produce all of the electric cars because they own all the materials as far as the batteries for them. And then you start looking at the chips and everything else. This is a problem.
Yeah.
Because they could come into our country like they've done to Germany and destroy their auto industry. Now, I'm not saying not let the free market reign. I do like the free market to reign, but I also think it has to be a fair playing field at some point. If they come in and start offering cars at $10,000, we know they're not the quality of what we're producing, what we're getting here in the U.S. But every manufacturer is building here. I mean, Hyundai's got a new plant. Kia's got a new plant. BMW is building here. Mercedes building. They're all the imported brands essentially are building here. And the only domestics we have left are Ford and GM because Stellantis is owned by a company that's in Belgium. So again, if you want to keep the jobs here, you want to have a level playing field, there has to be a way to balance it out. But coming in and lowballing the price and bring in poor quality cars, consumer doesn't know the difference. No matter what you and I say, no matter what all the journalists out there say, the consumer is going to say, wow, $10,000, I could buy 2 of these.
Yep.
That's not the way to play. I'm not saying the free market should let people decide, but it could create a massive issue and an economic impact that's quite negative.
That's right. That's right. Do you remember the Hugo days and the early days of Hyundai when they came out with the 5995 car and everybody flocked to those cars and then realized, wow, what a piece of crap these things are, right? But to your point,
they were brown paper bags.
They were flying off the shelves, so to speak, because of the fact they were so cheap, right?
I do remember that, yes.
Yeah.
And I know they tried it with Renault, came into this country with the same kind of thing. They all came with these low-dollar cars. But, I mean, we've got even Vietnamese are building VinFast in Raleigh-Durham.
Yeah.
But they're investing here in the U.S. They're giving us jobs.
Sure.
So that's a good thing. So if President Trump is elected, that's we're going to see a fairer playing field. If Kamala Harris gets elected, she's going to continue with the Biden plan of electric vehicles. No matter how she flip-flops, she's definitely going to flip back around to all EVs. And consumers don't want it. The consumer has made a statement. They want hybrids, whether they be plug-in hybrids or regular hybrids. You're seeing that because the price of those are very strong right now, which initially when they came out, they weren't. So it's interesting to watch the turnaround of people showing an interest in that, which is a great way to lease, which is good for the dealers as well. Because after they're 10 years old, who knows what kind of expenses you're going to have.
That's a good point. Yeah, we don't have a lot of history on that, right? So. So do you think that these cutbacks that we started the segment with, do you think we're going to see those through this last quarter of the year as we get, because there's always cutbacks in December, right? Yeah. And if these, it sounds to me like these are starting early, this might be kind of the canary in the coal mine, if you will, to say, there might be a whole slew of cutbacks coming in the final quarter.
Yeah, I think this is sadly a canary in the coal mine. We're seeing cutbacks all across the board. And as part of the media, we get sometimes to sit next to some of these executives at a higher level, and you can hear it in their voices. They're already saying, like, we're going to have to pay a lot of fines to the federal government. And when you do that, how are you going to pay for that? You can only raise the price of the vehicle so much. Consumers will push back. That impacts sales. It impacts the dealers. It impacts consumers. So they have to then go, well, then we have to cut back elsewhere. And that's why Volkswagen is going to shut down their battery plant, because they're not selling as many EVs as they thought they were. But again, in the case of Volkswagen, that stands alone as they did this to themselves. But for other brands such as Toyota, they're saying, we're going to go with the hybrid lineup. And you're seeing them going full hybrids across the lineup. Honda had partnered with General Motors for the Blazer EV. So they have one vehicle. They claim they're having more, but you can say whatever you want in public. But we know that every single brand has pulled back, including Volvo and Jaguar, since we spoke last, who have now said, yeah, we're going to offer hybrids. We're going to do the electrification, which is a translation of hybrids, because you can't go all EV, because even Volvo realizes that. I've driven the EX90, which is coming out, fantastic car, but they're still going to offer the XC90, which is their full-size SUV, and a hybrid is, they put it, as long as consumers demand it. Well, I think they've demanded it.
And now Ford's come out with these commercials that I just saw, where it's basically choose the way you want your vehicle to be, motorized, so to speak, whether it be a hybrid or a combustion engine or a complete EV. It's kind of pick your form of engine, so to speak, right?
Right. Or propulsion, either one, yes. But I think that's what consumers want. I mean, sometimes I've talked to a lot of people who had EVs who have gotten there, were done. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine traded in a Rivian for a Subaru and a pickup truck, and I'm like, wow, the Subaru dealer, I was more impressed that the Subaru dealer took a Rivian in on trade, because, again, it's not a regular dealer group, so you have to go back to Rivian if you've got service problems, and that was exactly the reason. So when you look at consumers saying this doesn't work for my lifestyle, or you live in the upper half of the country and you experience very cold temperatures, or you're living in Arizona, it can be very hot in the desert, you lose battery range, and consumers are like, this doesn't work. Right. So that's why, although in the past many people laughed, many journalists laughed at the Prius, well, guess what? The Prius is still king. And it's won World Car of the Year awards. It's won all kinds of awards. The new Prius is fabulous. And you're looking at 55 miles to the gallon. But I keep saying, look to Europe, because they do offer a diesel hybrid, and it gets 70 miles to the gallon. And if they make it a turbo diesel, which they're talking about doing, they're talking about as much as almost 80 miles to the gallon. I've been talking to some internals. I'm thinking, if you bring that to the U.S. and you tell a consumer, I can get you 70 miles to the gallon, I'm in line personally.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
No, I know. Yeah, especially when
it makes a ton of sense.
There's no question about it. With gas prices as high as they are right now, and I don't know that we're ever going to see them coming down, regardless of who occupies the Oval Office. It's just I think we're now at a level that everybody's like, this is the deal. Yeah, I mean it could be, but I'm saying
well, Trump's going to drill.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know that.
Yeah, no question.
He's a drill baby drill. He wants fracking. He wants to produce oil here, not get it from other places. He wants to keep it here, not ship it elsewhere.
Right.
So you will see prices drop to where he had it at like under $2 a gallon in some areas of the country, across, somewhere around $2 a gallon otherwise.
Yeah.
But if Harris gets in, I can guarantee you, I'll put money on the table for this. Gas prices are going to go crazy high, and she's going to push that EV mandate. And everyone who thought I'm going to keep my car won't be able to. In England, they have an answer to that. They fine you every single year for owning a gasoline vehicle, even if it's an older car and you own it. And if you own a hybrid, they still fine you if it's gas or diesel. The only way you can get away with it is buying an electric vehicle, and they have an electricity shortage. And that's exactly what's going to happen here on a much larger scale.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. That's a very scary thought. One that we're gonna leave our viewers with to ponder over because we've run out of time. But I've got so many more questions here to talk to you about. So love to have you back. Appreciate all the time you've given us here at CBT News. Lauren Fix, founder of Car Coach Reports. Check them out online. They are awesome. And Lauren, you are awesome. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Inside